place the call to Branley. I want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to especially thank the head teachers and the schools for leading the students on a journey of learning and discovery that was fun, right? It was fun. I want to thank the kids for all their hard work and the chance we have to showcase some of what you've done. And my name is V. Chapman Smith. I'm with the National Archives, but I'm also been working as part of the team with Jim Kinney to bring the Catto Memorial to City Hall. So it's been a long journey for all of us, but in particular for the mayor, it's been a 15-year journey. And when he comes in, I hope we all will cheer him for making such great things happen. So now I'm going to call Branley, because I promised him that if he got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, that he would be able to greet you all. So have any kids decided they want to raise their hand to ask a question? Nobody?
This is Branley speaking.
Hi, Branley. This is V. Can you speak up?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear Branley? Okay. Did you hear that, Branley? You got a group of kids. It's a full house. So they're here to hear what you have to say about the memorial, and hopefully there is one kid who will ask a question. I've already prepped them to tell them that somebody has to ask you a question, and it can't be me. Okay, so speak up.
Okay, great. First of all, I just want to say good morning, and thank you for inviting me to this great event. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be there with you today, and I wish I could have been there in person to hear your ideas and meet you personally, and to see the great mural that you'll be working with Willis and Pierre. So last year, I designed and sculpted the memorial to Octavius Catto, the great Civil War era educator and activist. And one of the things that inspired me about Octavius is that he accomplished so much in his life, and he wasn't much older than many of you are today. So I wanted the memorial to visually depict some of his accomplishments and many of the activities and efforts he was involved in. And my hope is also that viewers who walk by the memorial and see like the plaque of his baseball or the transportation that he rode in. My hope is that people see the ways that these activities and efforts are not that much different from the activities and challenges that we face today. Art can be used to express many things, thoughts, ideas, feelings, and historic events. And my hope for you all is that beyond this event, you continue to explore your world, express yourselves, and work towards making your world a more just and beautiful place. So if you have any specific questions about the memorial, I'd love to answer them now.
Okay, anyone would like to ask Branley a question? Okay, come up. You have to come up so we can speak in the mic so everybody can hear you. We do have a young man who wants to ask you a question, Branley. And by the way, you're not here to see this, but their projects are not only extraordinary history projects, but they're beautiful art projects. So you would be...
Looking forward to seeing plenty of pictures.
Yeah, we'll send some pictures to you. So ask your question.
Okay, so I'm going to put into mic.
Yes, so everybody can hear you.
So what I wanted to know was that you said that you wanted his statue to kind of be the summary of what his accomplishments were. What was kind of the process that you went around in trying to crystallize his accomplishments in life and kind of the summary of his character overall?
Okay, I'm going to ask you to repeat that question to me. I only heard a few of the words.
Okay, I'm sorry. I actually had the phone away from the mic, so you couldn't really hear it. He wanted to know what the process was that you went through to crystallize his life and to summarize his accomplishments.
Okay. So basically, my process with, especially with historic works, is to read a lot. Oftentimes, a lot of the information can only be found in books and articles, online and in libraries. I also went to the Historical Society to not only learn about his life, but also learn about his time. So in designing the streetcar, I needed to know what streetcars look like and have as many details as possible to incorporate that into design. Part of the reason that I highlighted the streetcar and the ballot box in the memorial was really driven by the site. So Philadelphia City Hall, as you know, along with being the center of government, is also a huge transportation hub. And Octavius Catto and his contemporaries really played a major role in transforming the ways that those institutions were run and how people and citizens had access to those various institutions. So I really thought it was important to highlight those specific aspects of his accomplishment through the streetcar and through the ballot box, which is why they play such a big role in his memorial. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And your name?
Oh, Ben?
Ben, and you are?
From Julia R. Masterman,
And what grade?
10th.
So this was Ben, 10th grade at Masterman. And Brandley, one of the things I took away, the first thing you said, is that as an artist, you had to read to make your art come alive. Did everybody hear that? No, he had to get his ideas by looking at materials. And I know in the classrooms with the students, their teachers presented them with materials so they could get ideas. So thank you so much, Brandley, for joining us.
My pleasure, and have a great day.
Talk to you later. So, now we can get forward with the program. We're going to start with some of the student projects. You got the young man who was helping with, we're going to actually kick it off with a short video from students at McCall School. McCall is a middle school, so you can escape the, if you want to, yeah. So we actually have a lot of projects that have art as a part of the project. We have video that has art, we have display boards that have art, we have posters that have art, we have books that have art, and you'll see today that one of our themes today is that art is important to storytelling. So how many kids here really like art? I love art myself, and I'm not a kid. So we have some artists, additional artists who will be part of our greeters today. We have Willis and Keir who will be leading the painting. They work for Jane Golden at Mural Arts, and you guys will get a chance to make your mark on the new Catto mural. And so now we have movies. So take it away.
The Institute for Colored Youth, also known as ICY, was founded in 1837 at this location, 716 Lombard Street. The school remained at this location until it was moved in 1902 to become Shawnee University. After a discouraging experience of being the only black student at the Allentown Academy for Boys, Octavius, his father, enrolled him as a student at ICY. Catto soon became the star pupil and later graduated as class valedictorian in 1858 at the age of 19. He soon began to teach Latin and Greek in Washington, D.C., and a year later came back to ICY to teach English and math. Soon after this appointment, Catto led his students of ICY to become soldiers for the Union during the Civil War. Catto was a leader for his students and a strong representative for the African American community and children of Philadelphia.
In 1866, Catto formed the city's second black baseball team. The Jefferson Street grounds was a baseball field that held the first interracial baseball game. It was played at 25th and Jefferson Street. After playing one season, they had great success after achieving a 9-1 record. On September 3, 1869, the Olympics, an all-white team played against Catto and the Pythians. Each individual team had the authority to call their own balls, strikes, safes, and outs. The umpire were only to hear appeals from each side. The Pythians chose not to appeal to any bad calls. Ultimately, the final score was won by the Olympics, 44-23. Even though they had lost, Octavius Catto and his team played with dignity and passion, facing unfair calls, and in the end, they were able to put themselves in a racist community.
Out of the 37 Freedmen's Bureau banks opened in the 17 states and the District of Columbia, Octavius V. Catto was the 6th person in Philadelphia to open up a bank account at this location. 919 Lombard Street. Catto and other black leaders deposited thousands of dollars, making the bank one of the most successful operations in Philadelphia. In 1865, Congress established a bank for people to trustfully deposit their savings. The Bureau of Refugees, more globally known as the Freedmen's Bureau, provided housing, medical aid, and food to millions of poor people and former slaves. Catto, along with other ICY, Institute Colored of Youth, students worked on the political front to ensure Philadelphia's free black population benefited from this War Department initiative. Soon, the Freedmen's Bureau could not carry on any longer due to the shortage of materials and funds.
A major accomplishment of Octavius Catto was how he changed the transportation system in Philadelphia. The first streetcars in the region were running on steel rails and pulled by horses. The mass transit system was a network of privately owned streetcars that prohibited black riders. Many people in Catto's generation wanted to persuade the streetcar owners to allow black Philadelphians to ride. However, Catto and his followers chose a different path and decided to put pressure on the Pennsylvania state legislature to pass a law. They also engaged in civil disobedience, much like later civil rights heroes such as Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. Catto led efforts to stage sit-ins on streetcars to raise awareness of the injustice. Catto's hard work and the determination alongside other black Philadelphians to achieve equal access to streetcars paid off. On February 5, 1867, the bill Catto helped to author for the desegregation of streetcars had finally passed. On March 22, 1867, Governor John Geary signed the bill and black Philadelphians could at last ride the streetcars alongside of their white peers.
Despite the fact Octavius Catto died over a century ago, his legacy continues to be honored in his hometown of Philadelphia.
Recently, Mayor Jim Kenney oversaw the construction of a statue of Catto in front of City Hall, which pays homage to Catto's determination to undo the injustice in his community. The statue was erected in September of 2017.
The memorial is titled A Quest for Parity, which references Catto's life goals to eliminate racial inequality. It includes a voting box and pillars which allude to trolley cars, highlighting his campaign for African American voting rights and desegregation of Philadelphia transportation.
The statue will hopefully continue to stand for many years to come and inspire future generations for equality for all people and all human lives.
Just put it, no. So we have 2 minutes for McCall students to come up and take questions on their project. Anybody want to be brave enough to do that? Will you at least raise your hands? Where are you, McCall students? Hello? Okay, come on. Okay, I'm going to turn the mic over to you so people can hear you.
All right. All right. So, my name is Aaron,
My name is Marcus.
And I'm Joseph.
and we're 8th graders from McCall School. We have been studying Octavius Catto this year. We learned that he was an unknown figure for years and never really got the credit he deserves. He was a prominent black man of Philadelphia, and we're happy to be celebrating his life.
This year, we worked in groups to research various locations significant to Catto's life. We took a walking trip to film these locations with information about Catto, which we turned into this documentary. This is a work in progress. You will be viewing the first 5 minutes today of 5 locations we visited. We still have 4 more to film. I enjoyed learning about Catto and appreciate his work in equalizing voting for Black Philadelphians.
Catto was extremely important in history. Most people think of civil rights activists like Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, but not Octavius Catto. I think it is really important to know his name and all he did for African Americans. We want to give a special thank you to the authors of Tasting Freedom, Dan Biddle and Murray Dubin, for visiting McCall and joining us on our walking tour, giving us some interesting stories along the way. And a special thank you to Amy Cohen, creator of the Catto publication we used to learn about his life. Please enjoy our documentary.
Okay, so this room is really packed. Everybody look around. Now imagine all of the students who really got to learn about Catto this year. Does anybody have any idea about how many students were reached through the project? Take one guess. So there's like 200 of you right here. There were over 11,000 kids who were touched by teachers who did the Catto project. And I personally want to thank all of you who are here for being the super brave ones to come up and present your projects today at City Hall. And I hope you'll have a really good experience when you get to work with people who are doing more art through the Catto story through more art. And it'll be an opportunity for you to have fun with history, okay? So we're going to do one more student project real quick. We're going to do Mayfair School, and then the mayor will be coming in to greet everybody. Has everybody met the mayor before? No? So who's going to recognize him when he comes in if you don't know who he is? It'll be fine. So will the Mayfair students come forward who are going to tell us about their projects? Thank you.
Good morning. We're representing Mayfair Elementary School in the Northeast Philadelphia. I have 3 young ladies that are going to speak to you about the lasting impact that Catto has had. My students have chosen to not necessarily do projects specifically about Octavius Catto, but the lasting impact that not only he made on the city of Philadelphia and the United States, but then formed further movements like the Civil Rights Movement and current day Black Lives Matter.
What is sexism? Sexism is discrimination because of your gender. Sexism can happen to either men or women. This topic is important to me because sexism is outdated and a form of discrimination. It is also important to me because men and women are equal and therefore should have equal rights. It is seen all throughout the world. Sexism has been around for hundreds of years, from being nurses and cooks instead of being active military member during a war, to being told a woman's place in the kitchen or that's a man's job. Women are judged on so many things like their looks, the way they dress, their lifestyle, job choice, etc. While teen girls are judged for wearing too much makeup, dressing provocatively, and what they want to do with their life, boys are judged for not being strong, not playing sports, wearing makeup, and not being considered the tough one in a situation. This world today has put so many labels on every gender. Being a teen in this decade, I have seen change, improvement, and hoped in what's to come for our future. This generation has seen women run for president, celebrities speak out for equal pay, and women as active military personnel. There have been women on the Senate floor, working in the White House. The generation I am in, I hope to see a woman as president someday. It may be me or one of the few amazing girls that came here with me today. I will one day make as much money as the man sitting next to me. Improvement began through laws many years ago, passed by Congress on June 4th, 1919, and ratified on August 18th, 1920. The 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote. The 19th Amendment guarantees all women the right to vote. This being one of the few milestones for women, just like the women's rights movement, with the first gathering held on July 19th and 20th, 1848. Even though women have laws which give them rights, they are still suffering from being victims, from choosing who they want to be. From this generation forward, every woman will have grown up in the digital age where, unless she sat in a turtleneck at home for all teens, she will have pictures readily available online that could be used to shame her. Men also experience sexism, especially teen boys. Me being a teen myself, I've seen boys being judged for what they wear, who they're friends with, if they wear makeup, if they don't like sports, and the list goes on. Boys will be called feminine for self-expression, but who put those labels on people? Men who cry are seen as soft, when in reality, everyone cries when going through tough times and even in joy. So both men and women experience sexism in their lifetime. So today you ask yourself, do you judge people? Do you sit there and say, why is that boy wearing makeup and have his nails done? Shouldn't he be playing a sport? Would you judge your own child for making the same choices? Would you tell your daughter, you can't do that, that's a man's job? There are many stay-at-home dads where the wives work, and there are also many stay-at-home moms where the husbands work. Society has put so many labels on the world where people are afraid to express themselves. They are afraid to be judged. In conclusion, the world we live in today, we are breaking so many of society's standards. Hopefully one day people won't even have to experience sexism. Maybe our future will be a world in which men and women will be seen as equals and not one superior sex to the other. Because both men and women can do anything, an end to sexism in the near future is possible because of the brave people who are fighting for equal rights today. I am thankful for the amazing men and women who are fighting against sexism. This is important to me because they are paving the way for gender equality for future generations. Thank you.
For this project, I decided to focus on the LGBT community. This project really opened up my eyes to things about this topic I didn't know before. I learned about all the violence and hatred these people have to go through every day of their lives. LGBT people, especially those of color, are often the most targeted group of people for hatred and violence. This negatively impacts a person's mental health and in some cases even physical health. According to the 2015 Federal Bureau of Investigation hate crime statistics, about a fifth of hate crimes reported were based on sexual orientation or gender identity. In addition, LGBT youth are 8 times as likely to experience bullying at school because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. Furthermore, on many surveys on anti-LGBT violence, people of color comprise more than half of the victims. This type of negativity is connected to mental health. When people are exposed to hate, this can lead to depression. During the time of us doing this project, I not only learned about segregation against LGBT people. Before I chose my topic, I researched other things that I could have been interested in doing for this project. And although I decided to focus on this for my project, there are many other forms of segregation. Just like there are anti-gays and anti-trans, there are also anti-blacks and misogynists. Everyone should take time out of their day to research these kinds of things and try to find out ways to stop it. There are many ways to stand up against discrimination. For example, speaking up when you see something bad happening, or doing research instead of stereotyping minorities. Media stereotypes are some of the most dangerous and most pervasive representations of minorities in this country. Without much thought, we can easily take in stereotypes that have reinforced through commercials, actors, roles in movies, and types of news stories that are predominantly portrayed. Being conscientious about what we watch and what we listen to is so important. We can also use social media to challenge these media sources. We need to not only speak up, but also act up against segregation of all groups.
Diversity in Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is an ideological and political intervention in a world where Black lives are systematically and intentionally targeted for demise. It is an affirmation of Black folks' contributions to the society, our humanity, and our resilience in the face of deadly oppression. But Black Lives Matter has several guiding principles that go into it, which are the following: diversity, globalism, Black women, Black villages, loving engagement, restorative justice, collective value, empathy, queer affirming, unapologetically Black, transgender affirming, Black families, and intergenerationality. Today, I will be shining light on the principle of diversity. When my history teacher introduced this project, I was very excited for making it on Black Lives Matter, but I didn't know how I could have personal experience with it since I do have lighter skin. Thanks to the book that the school district supplied for the curriculum, I was able to understand and read about the intersectionality that goes along with BLM. To explain what is going on in my mural, it is a Black Lives Matter protest with a person with handcuffs around the wrist to show the definition of BLM. Earlier, I said I was going to talk about diversity. Many brands neglect diversity and usually hire white, blonde-haired models. There are very few times that I see Black models or even models with darker features. And this isn't just brands. Many people aren't accepting when it comes to different races. When I decided to do my topic on diversity, I automatically knew the perfect connection I could make to it. When me and my Latinx family moved to my current house in 2009, we were the first people of color to move onto my block. One day, my sister and I were playing in the driveway of my house, and a neighborhood group of white kids and teenagers came up to me and my sister and told us to go back to Mexico. It is evident that the reason why they decided to target and discriminate against us was because we had darker features than them. This is just a small example of how colorism and racism in America is still prevalent in Black and brown communities. As a Latinx woman who lies on the lighter end of the skin tone spectrum and has faced a situation where I was being discriminated against, I can't even begin to imagine how darker-skinned people are targeted due to the negative stigma towards people of color. For example, a couple weeks ago in a downtown Philadelphia Starbucks, 2 Black men sat down waiting for a friend to arrive when a white worker told them to leave the premises because they hadn't ordered anything. Confused because there were several other people who had done the same, the men told her that they were waiting for a friend to discuss business investment opportunities. The lady soon called the police, and shortly after, 6 police officers showed up, put them in handcuffs, and took them to a police station. This is only one of a million examples that have happened due to negative hatred towards people of color. Speaking about this today and being so young makes me proud and makes me feel like I have a voice. This topic is very serious, and this generation should be the one to end this hatred. As a Latinx woman, I'm always proud to express what I believe in, and I'm so very thankful that I got to express this topic in front of an audience with excellent minds. Thank you.
Thank you, especially for bringing the Catto legacy forward to contemporary issues. Okay, we have our special guest here who is going to say a few words to the students, and then following him, we'll have Chris Schaefer and Jane Golden speak, and then we'll try to do a picture. I'm not sure which is the best way to do the picture since there's so many people that way. Maybe we have to have the mayor be in the center, and we'll have some of the photographers shoot the picture this way, okay? And you young ladies who are in really lovely outfits, I like that. Yeah, I understand you guys have a skit for us. You can also find your way closer to the front, so you can be in the picture. I think some of the cameras actually do video, so we might have to do it that way. I don't know what that means for you guys, but it seems to me it would be horrible to try to have all these kids move forward. What do you think? Yes, definitely a challenge. Thank you. So, Mayor Kinney, the mayor, as you know, this was his long project to have Catto Memorial at City Hall. But his real dream was to have kids like you learn about Catto and speak up about what Catto means to your lives today. Not only learn the history, but look at it through the lens of your lives today and having you speak up as well. So, Mayor Kinney.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks for being here today. This is your building. You own it, and you should come here as much as possible and understand what's going on inside these walls and in these offices, and maybe one day yourself will be elected or appointed and working in these offices. I first learned about Octavius Catto when I was about in my 40s. And I had never heard the name before. And I was reading an article about these Irish guys who were down in South Philly who were like Democratic politicians who ultimately wound up being the assassins of Catto. And the more and more I read about him, the more and more I asked myself, why don't I know about him? Why wasn't I taught about him when I was in grade school or in high school? And it came apparently clear that many people who contributed to the greatness or the progress of our country were left out of the history books intentionally. See, when white Europeans came to the shores of America, there were people who were here already. Columbus did not discover America. First of all, he didn't come to America, he came to the Caribbean, and there were people here before he even got here, and they were Native Americans. And those folks were treated badly and harshly, and their land was taken from them, and they were victims of genocide. The white Europeans wanted all of the benefits of a new world, and they moved the people who were living here out of their space and took their land and ultimately put them on reservations and basically held them as captives. Same thing happened when they brought African slaves to the United States to work for free, to make white people rich on the backs of slave labor. So there's lots of things that have happened in this country that are really shameful and sinful, and all the people who contributed to making this country what it is today were not all white men. There were lots of women, there were lots of people of color, and we need to learn about them in order to understand the true meaning of what this country should stand for. So when they wrote all men are created equal, they didn't mean it. That meant all white men with land were created equal, and everybody else had to continue to struggle to make those words make sense for them in their own lives. And it's still not there yet. We're still not there. Think about this. Women did not vote until 1920. This is within that century. The country came into existence Constitution in 1878, or yeah, 1887. 1787, and women did not vote until 1920. Think about how debilitating that was for women in this country. Catto, along with Frederick Douglass and others, fought for the right for black men to vote. And that happened in 1870, 1871. He wound up being assassinated on South Street, right at 8th and South, 7th, 8th and South, on Election Day, October 10th, 1871. The point is that many of the people who were heroes at the time were left out of the history books because the people who took them out of the history books didn't want you to know who they were. And the most important thing about Catto and the memorial and the statue is that now we know who he is, and we know who the people who work with him are or were. Do you know that during Catto's time, you could not ride on a trolley car at all? Not like Rosa Parks in the back of the trolley car. You couldn't even get on the trolley car. Even if you were a soldier fighting for the country, fighting in the Civil War as a northern soldier in uniform, could not ride on the trolley car. These are things that people need to know about, and we can't sweep them under the rug. There was a time when the first White House was, the first president's house was discovered on the grounds of Independence Hall, and you can see the memorial that's there now and some of the artifacts. The government, the United States government, wanted to bulldoze that over. They wanted to ignore the fact that George Washington and his wife held slaves in Philadelphia at the first White House, the first president's house. They didn't want to acknowledge that. But it had to be acknowledged in order for us to understand what our history really is. And our history is one of struggle for lots of folks who are still struggling today, like those two young men at Starbucks, who are still struggling just to be accepted and to be treated as everyone else wants to be treated. So I think it's really important what you're doing here today because you're learning and you continue to research and learn about all the different heroes who made this country what it is or tried to make this country what it should be, and learn about them and appreciate them and respect what their contributions are. And I heard one of the young presenters talk about women being able to do anything, and that's true. Tammy Jo Schultz, do you know who she is? Tammy Jo Schultz is the woman who took that Southwest airline that lost its engine, flying at a 41-degree angle, and righted that plane until it landed safely in Philadelphia, because she's one of the first women to ever fly in an F-18 fighter pilot as a Navy pilot. Women can do anything that men can do. Sometimes they do it better, actually. So my hope for you today is that you continue to learn, continue to keep your mind open, learn about the people who look like you, who did great things for our country, and there's thousands and thousands of them. Think about the women who have helped this country grow, and there are millions and millions of them. And treat each other with respect and decency. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and everything will work out okay. And even though you hear what you hear on television coming from Washington, from that man, this too shall pass. He will pass. He will be gone at some point in time. So don't let him bear down on you. Don't let the people who believe what he says bear down on you. This is a safe city. This is a welcoming city. We will welcome everyone. Despite where you're coming from, where your family comes from, you have a right to be here. You have a right to be respected, and you have a right to meet your potential, and that's all we really want. So God bless you all. We love you. Thanks.
Okay, such inspiring words. As I said, when I first signed up to join Mayor Kinney on his journey with this Catto project, he said to me, V, we have to do education because we need to make sure that our youth have a voice in what they want their future to be. And so the Catto story became a way of helping you to look at issues that impact your lives today and the way you want to live your life in the future. And so this education piece is a central part of any Catto experience we hope to have in the city. And to talk to you just for a few minutes about that, we have Chris Schaefer, who's the Deputy Chief Academic Officer for the Philadelphia School District. It was him and his team that actually made it possible with funding from the Catto Memorial Fund to bring you this exciting education year where you got to learn a bunch of new stuff, be out in the street taking videos, learn performances, do great projects. It was because of that. So, Chris?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today on behalf of the School District of Philadelphia as we celebrate the culmination of the Catto Educational Initiative. And I'm especially thrilled today to hear and see all of our students. And like many schools that I visit, and I see student presentations, and I end up scribbling down some notes as I hear our young students that make me just so proud to be part of the School District of Philadelphia. And I wrote something on my paper that I wanted to share to you. And my grandmother was a teacher, and she always read to me. And I remember one time asking her, well, how do you know when kids learn? And she told me, you know when students take what they've learned, they make it their own, and they say it in their own words. And I hadn't thought about that moment until I was up here watching these beautiful presentations. You are the reason that we are here, and we are also very proud of you. I'd like to also thank our teachers. You too are the reason that we are here. know that we probably did not make this the easiest professional development series for your teachers. They trekked all over the city to learn more about Catto, and they brought the content and those skills back to you. So we are so very proud of you. And then finally, I would like to thank, not finally, but almost finally, our two curriculum specialists, Shaquita Smith and Yassine Muhammad. And finally, Mayor Kenny for opening us up at the Constitution Center. And supporting us and his educational office throughout this whole endeavor. And we look forward to many more years. Thank you.
Okay, we have one more speaker who's going to introduce you to two of my favorite special people that I met along this journey. The person who's going to introduce you is actually someone I've known forever. But it's going to be your fun this afternoon, where you get to make your mark on the city with a new project. And so after that, then we're going to have the mayor, Jane, Chris, Kier, and Willis stand here, and we're going to try to do a panoramic picture of everybody in the room so that we'll have this for our files. So my best friend from my Mantua days, Jane Golden.
Hi everyone, how are you? So I'm going to ask what VS, just so I can see it one more time. Who likes art? That's good. Who likes murals? Who has a favorite mural? Bet you do, right? Good. There are 4,000 of them in our city. 4,001. And this will be one of the best. So good morning, and I'm thrilled to be here. I want to acknowledge and thank everyone who spearheaded the work of including Octavius Catto in the school district curriculum. Can we have a round of applause? This is really a noteworthy day. We feel very honored and privileged to just play a small role here, and we're proud to partner with everyone on this. I want to thank the Philadelphia School District and the Catto Memorial Committee, and of course, V. Chapman Smith, who's so awesome. We love her. I also, listening to Mayor Kenny's remarks, I'm reminded again how lucky we are to be in a city where we're led by someone who is so visionary and progressive. Can we have a round of applause for a wonderful mayor? He's a constant and tireless advocate for public education, and he has advocated for the Catto Project for years and years and years. And he's committed to preserving Catto's legacy, and he also wants to make sure that students are learning about civil rights heroes. Many of these heroes grew up in your neighborhoods. We need to learn that African American history is American history, period. Like the mayor, I did not know about Catto. I'm embarrassed to say that, till I was in my 30s, and I really didn't know about how extraordinary and complex a man he was until recently. And when you start reading about him, you read how multidimensional he was, all the different parts of his life that he was involved in. He fought for voting rights. He was an orator who shared the stage with Frederick Douglass. He was a devoted educator at Cheney University. He was an activist who brought black participation in the political process to the state capitol. He did all those things, and he died much too young. And so what do you do about that, right? In the fall, we had something called Monument Lab, where we asked Philadelphians, what is an appropriate monument for the current city of Philadelphia? Who does the representing and who gets represented? Well, luckily for us, we're in a city where where the mayor, where many of you who are here today said, we want Catto represented. And we want him on the apron of City Hall. And how wonderful is that? It is a breathtaking work of art, and I know there was not a dry eye in the audience on that day in the fall when it was dedicated. I want to tell you why I love murals. I love murals because they represent people, because it's a mirror that we hold up to the citizens of Philadelphia and we say that your life counts. In the late 60s, when artists in Chicago started painting murals, they did that because they could not show their work in galleries or museums. Black and brown people were not welcome. And so they started painting big, bold, meaningful images in Chicago, in LA, and San Francisco. So I feel honored to be part of this tradition, this trajectory that says that people count, and that art is not something that just hangs behind the walls of galleries and museums, that everybody, everyone, everywhere deserves beauty, and all young people deserve access to art education, and that is not negotiable. And so it's a privilege for us to be able to do a mural of Catto. This collection that we have in Philadelphia is not insignificant. It is a big deal. We have the largest percentage of murals about African American and Latino themed history than any city in the world. I want you to think of the murals as a textbook. It is our history. It is the autobiography of the city of Philadelphia. And I feel proud to play just a tiny role in facilitating this, but don't be fooled. I'm up here talking. It's the citizens of the city that drive this vision. This is indeed your story. And we are so grateful to extraordinary artists who do the work in our city. And I would like to thank Keir Johnson and Willis Humphrey. Could you both stand up? Their work graces the sides of walls from Philadelphia to around the world. And we are so lucky because, see, they have vision and talent and genius that is really quite remarkable. The mural is, look at this, it's beautiful and it's breathtaking. And they've decided that working in the public sphere is something they're incredibly committed to. At Mural Arts, we always say that art ignites change. And what does that mean? Well, clearly a blank wall gets changed into something. But for me, that change is something deeper and more profound. It's the 2,000 kids in our art ed program who know that they can take an idea and bring it into being. It's people who are working behind bars, who have talent and genius but have had absolutely zero opportunities. It's people coming home from prison that suddenly learn skills and change recreation centers into places of beauty. It's people in the behavioral health system who feel they are in the dark and art shines a light on them. When I say art ignites change, it's because I believe it with all my heart. So it is a thrill that you today are going to be able to work with these two wonderful artists and make your mark on a masterpiece in this city. And moving forward, I want you to drive by there. I want you to look up at this work of art. And I want you to say to yourselves that you had a part of this. Because what I want, what I dream for you, what I hope for you more than anything is that you see your lives represented in the life of Octavius Catto. Our world needs you. Our challenge is to ask ourselves, what is it we believe in? And then we need to do our best to act on those beliefs, because guess what? The world we create today is the world we're passing on to you. And let it be a world filled with beauty and peace and hope. And I have every confidence in the world that you can do that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
So, have you ever painted with an artist before? Well, this is going to be a thrill when you get to do that today. So, Mayor Kinney, can you come up? Willis, Keir, Jane, I guess Chris, oh, Chris, there you are. We're going to try to put you in the center here. And we need to scoot all the kids around so your faces are not hiding behind a chair, but sort of in the center. We're going to put you over in the center of the kids. Thank you. I'm so glad to see you guys.
Good to see you.
How you been? Yeah.